This is my fifth speech up to today as part of this Toastmasters generation, and the theme of today is music. So I thought I'd talk about, there's a concept in movement called a movement. It's like a section of music, and each section is called a movement. But I've taken a rather flexible way of understanding movement, as in actual movement. So I thought I'd talk about my own movement in sections. So I'm doing 10 years at a time. My first movement, in other words, is my first 10 years of life. My second movement is my second 10 years of life up to 20, etc. And I just celebrated my 50th birthday. Thank you, it was nothing. So when I was 16, my biology teacher told us that there are certain characteristics of living creatures, and you could remember them by the acronym marriage. Now I don't remember what, I'm very good at remembering acronyms, but not actually what they stand for. So the first letter in the acronym is M, and M is movement. So that's one of the characteristics of living creatures. But if you look at the kids of today, you'll notice that most of the time they are static in front of a screen. And they do not move much. So maybe we should change the characteristics of living creatures to zombie. But, I'm also going to say, I'm going to give a mark for each stage of my movements. So I've said that the title is Fifth Movement in B minor. So we'll see each movement, each decade has got a mark to it. So my first decade, from ages 0 to 10, I wasn't very sporty. I'd look up at the kids when I was 5 or 6 or 7 and see them, some of the kids were tall and fast, and I knew that I wasn't like that. And I'd barely be able to, touch my toes. I still can't, so I'm not really very flexible either. I'm not very fast, and it was a bit disappointing, actually, to tell the truth. But when I started a new school when I was 7 or 8, they chose me to be part of the rugby team, the house rugby team. That's a game played by men with odd-shaped balls. And they also chose me for the cricket team. Now, I'll tell you about how I got chosen for the cricket. Now a cricket pitch is about 22 yards. Oh, I'll come back into frame. 22 yards long, and what you have to do is there's someone batsman, and there's a bowler. Now, the whole class, 30 kids, 25, 30 kids, got a chance to bowl. Now there's something called an exact line and length, which means that the ball has to hit the floor just before it gets to what we call wickets, 3 posts up in there. And if you hit the wicket, the guy's out. So I bowled 2 balls. And what they did is they put a tin about that size at the exact length and position where it's going to hit the wickets. And I got it into that tin twice. And it didn't leave the tin. And I was the only one in the class to do that. Thank you. And I was chosen to be in the cricket team. And we played a match, and they didn't let me bowl. And that was sort of a bit disappointing. So that was basically the end of my sporting career from ages 1 to 10. So I'm going to give that a C minor for my first movement. The second movement, ages 10 to 20. Now I realised I wasn't much of a sportsman. So what we had in school, we had what we call a games afternoon. It's not playing games. You're supposed to do sports, like the rugby and the cricket. So it was a whole afternoon dedicated to sports. So mainly the sport that I chose when we were given a proper choice between rugby, cricket, was table tennis. So table tennis, as you know, you stand behind a table about this size and you just have to go like this. And it wasn't very sporty. And then eventually I found out you don't actually have to do that, you just sign up and then you can just go home. And then following school, I spent 2 years here in Israel, and I didn't do anything sporty. So that gets a D minor. So my third decade, that starts when I was 20-ish, and I went to university. Now in university, I continued, I didn't mention, I used to play tennis, which I really enjoyed. So for tennis, I dive around, backwards and forwards, and out of frame. And so I really enjoyed it, and I really felt that I got something out of that, and I could really put something into that. But in university, somebody introduced me to squash. Now squash, I don't know if you know, is in a room not a lot bigger than this room, a bit longer perhaps. And so I dived for the ball in squash, and I basically hit the front wall and knocked myself out almost one time. So I gave squash up as well. And in university I didn't have a car or anything, so I did quite a lot of walking, so that's somewhat sporty. But I also did quite a lot of bad eating, so I'm going to give that an E. That's Simon's third movement, gets an E. My fourth movement is ages between 30 and 40, and I actually had a health scare. I was quite a lot overweight. Since then I've lost about 13 or so kilos. And after I got that scare, I lost the weight, I started walking, and then I started running, and I actually surprised myself that I was able to run round our whole oval where we live, which is about 1.5 kilometres, and that was great. But eventually I realised that I wasn't really enjoying it too much. So the idea was to try and find something that I enjoyed, and I realised at various smachot that what I really enjoyed was dancing, actually. And dancing in a, you might know me, some of you, in a funny way, which is, it made me happy, and I felt great, and so I realised that dancing is my thing. But that's where I am at the moment. You've got to, as well as finding a thing, you've got to find an outlet for it. So hopefully in my fifth movement, which I'm just entering now, I'll be able to find an outlet for the kind of movement that I love. So I'm hoping to get a B minor in my fifth movement. Thank you.